Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, the podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse to discuss their views on fandom. My guest tonight is Sadie Geerligs, a full-time engineer at a fiber optics company. She loves Harry Potter, Disney, Star Wars, Sailor Moon, and Avatar: The Last Airbender, along with so many more. Sadie cosplays so she can bring her love of characters to life as well as getting to connect with the rest of the fandom. And she is one of the best Cinderellas I've ever seen. Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, Sadie.
Hey David, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. How would you describe fandom?
Okay, so I had to reference my written notes here because I liked what I wrote. So to me, a fandom is kind of something that you can become obsessed with, and it allows you to bond with others who are also into the same thing and similar interests, and it just kind of creates connections in the world.
And like I said in my introduction, some of your fandoms include Harry Potter, Disney, Star Wars, Sailor Moon, Avatar. I must be leaving one out.
At least one. The other one that would probably be in like my top five would definitely be Pokemon. That's kind of one that I'm not as obsessed with it anymore, but I will definitely I definitely owned all the games as a child, and I'll definitely be buying one of the new ones, whichever my brother doesn't buy when Sun and Moon come out.
Oh, okay. Do you for the Pokemon games, do you have a favorite Pokemon game? Is it like asking you to choose between children?
No, but as a kid, I always loved Yellow because I love Pikachu, and I loved that he would follow you around and be like, oh, I love you. Or some days it was like, oh, I hate you. But more recently, Pokemon X and Y came out, and you can finally, I don't think I can emphasize finally enough, change the appearance of your character. And I've been waiting since Pokemon Red came out to be able to change my character's clothes and appearance. So that was Christmas when those came out. I was so excited. My brother actually bought that for me because he knew how much I wanted it. And I wasn't even thinking about buying video games at the time because I had just moved and stuff. I was so excited. So
it's always nice to have a nice surprise that you don't expect.
Yeah, I have a good brother.
So does he buy the one game and you get the one that's opposite his?
Yeah, so that's kind of back when the Pokemon games first started coming out. That was kind of how our mom kept us quiet, was I got red and so Garrett got blue. I got gold, so Garrett got silver, and so on, down the generations of Pokemon we go. And so I think he kind of likes just keeping it up. So X came out, and I know that he got Y. So I'm a stars and crescent kind of girl. So I'll probably get Moon. He'll probably get Sun. So we'll be 45 years old and still buying Pokemon games.
I don't see that as any sort of problem.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Pokemon?
I really stereotypical answer here, but I really like Pikachu. Everybody has a favorite of the evolutions. I really love Sylveon. And then I also really like Rapidash because I'm big into horses and unicorns and such.
My favorite, and everyone always makes fun of me for it, is Psyduck.
Psyduck's
I can never get enough of him.
I used to really like him when I was younger because I wanted to be Misty.
Oh, poor Misty always treated him so poorly.
I know. I also really like ducks, so.
Yeah, I definitely like Psyduck. My kids finally saw Psyduck in one episode and they were like, why does he have a headache all the time?
Yeah, that would suck. I'm happy that that's not the case.
Me too. There's not enough Tylenol in the world for Psyduck.
No.
So Pokemon, I imagine that you have seen people cosplay Pokemon. Do you cosplay as any Pokemon?
The only Pokemon character that I've cosplayed has been Officer Jenny.
Okay.
I was originally supposed to do that with a friend, and I think she ended up not sleeping the night before, so she didn't end up doing Nurse Joy the next day. But I loved that cosplay because my mom and I stayed up really late before I left for the con to work on that one together. It was before my sewing skills had really evolved to where they are now. But I do have one. I have one the Gajinka Pokemon is really big right now to do humanized versions of
right.
I love that because I think it gives a shout out to my fashion-y side to design something of my own. So I actually do have my own design that I plan on doing at some point. I haven't really figured out when. I was thinking Dragon Con this year, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to do all the things that I want to before September. So it'll be my own design of a Rapidash.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone do a Rapidash before.
I've seen a couple, but they kind of remind me more of like how people dress up as My Little Ponies versus like the one that I've designed is going to be more high fashion, and it'll have a little bit of like some elements in it that I think will really bring out the like elegant side of the Pokemon versus just dressing kind of like a humanized horse. I don't know how to explain it.
Right, I get it. I've seen the cosplays of people as My Little Pony characters, so I totally know what you mean. Your top 5 of your fandoms, you had Harry Potter on there. So let's go with Harry Potter. I've got to find out, who is your favorite character?
So I'm a Professor Snape fan, and I know that will probably ignite some different opinions, but a lot of that has to do with Alan Rickman, the way he portrayed him. I love him as an actor in all of the things that he's done, but like I really loved him in that character, and like I liked Snape during the books and stuff. I felt like he was really, once you started to see his character develop and get more of his backstory, like I felt like he was a really just kind of like your typical guy, and he's just very misunderstood, and he has so much more going on than people realize, and I liked that depth to his story. And then when Alan Rickman portrayed him, I just feel like he did such a fantastic job.
Yeah, I cannot imagine another actor portraying Severus Snape.
No, never. Like, they should just forget about ever choosing someone else.
Yeah, in 20 years, when they inevitably say, we need another Harry Potter movie, let's remake the series, they should just quit while they're ahead. So you love Severus Snape. He is your favorite character. Do you have a character that you would consider underrated or possibly even overlooked? Someone that you connect with, but you really feel maybe the fandom doesn't appreciate them or doesn't really hold them in high regard?
Man, that's a tough question. Like, it's hard to pick because I feel like so many of the characters are like so like with the hype around it, with all of the theme parks and the books and the movies. I feel like a lot of the characters really get like, well, okay, I'll twist your words. Maybe not so much a character, but more like an aspect of the books itself would be, I know Hermione's not an underrated character, but I think that there were qualities of her character that I don't feel carried over to the movies, and I don't want anyone to take that as I don't think Emma Watson did a good job, because it's not true at all. I absolutely adore her. But like, and I don't think that it's her fault at all. I think it was directors and production people that made the call to change the story. As far as like her looks, like Emma Watson, like it's really hard to make her look nerdy, and kind of like the 4th book is kind of when Hermione has that transformation. And I feel like because they didn't work hard enough on her, like that side of her beforehand, that the transformation just kind of didn't show through in the movies. And then also they just kind of eliminated her whole thing with the house elves throughout the entire movies. And so I kind of feel like they've muted very admirable qualities of her character through the media, and that kind of always upset me, actually probably more than I'd like to admit. I was finally able to actually like move, like when they did the huge like break in between the movies, when they like switched direction completely with the 4th one, I was finally able to kind of let go of the fact that they weren't going to live up to my expectations of the book and actually just enjoy them as like a separate entity. But those are still some things that I feel like were lacking, and an understatement that they shouldn't have left out.
Right. Even if it would have added, say, 10 or 15 minutes to a few of the movies.
Yeah.
It is definitely something that is built into her character. And I remember even when the movies were coming out, it wasn't really the first one, because the first one really, I think she had a very good portrayal.
I think they did a great job with the first, maybe even 2. And then the 3rd one was kind of like, I think she was getting a little older, so they wanted to give her a little bit more like establishment as an actress. So they made her a little bit less of the nerd she needed to be and a little bit more of the girl that they wanted her to be. And that's kind of the 3rd movie I really don't like, because the 3rd book is my absolute favorite. And so I have jaded feelings about that one. And not all of them have to do with their portrayal of Hermione. So.
Right. Well, I remember also the third movie was where they took them out of their school robes and put them into regular street clothes for the first time. And that was jarring because as much as we read the books, there's not really ever mention of, I mean, they're wearing their house robes and whatnot, but there's never really any mention of them doing any outside clothing at school. That was really the time when it was like, wow, I mean, they're going in a different direction with the characters and how they're being represented on screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a lot of it. And then I know the ending definitely didn't end like the books did, and that probably is stupid, but it really bothered me because I didn't think that the third book needed anything that like be changed about it. And so even like the smallest details, like the end, like the letter that Harry received from Sirius and who, like, what owl delivered the letter to him and stuff, all of that just kind of irked me, left me jilted.
I can understand that. I mean, I have friends in different fandoms where they would be getting so upset about the translation from the books into movies. I remember one friend specifically was upset with Lord of the Rings because they cut out his favorite character. And it was like, he's kind of not important to the books as a whole, but in the grand scheme of the world, the Lord of the Rings universe, he is an important character, but it's like you got to let it go at some point.
Yeah. No, I have actually not read The Lord of the Rings. It's on my list to read this year or next year. But I love the movies, and I have read The Hobbit, and there were definitely, I'm happy, I think, that I've never read the books, because I think there would be a lot of things that would bother me.
There might be. I haven't read Lord of the Rings in a while. I do love the movies. There were major changes from the books to the movies, but overall I appreciate what we were able to finally get, and I'll never be upset about that, about having a great Lord of the Rings movie.
No one should be upset about Orlando Bloom playing Legolas. So that's 13-year-old Sadie speaking and 25-year-old Sadie speaking at the same time. So
we're getting the past and present combining. So with Harry Potter, I need to know what house you are.
I'm a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, Hufflepuff in the house. You are number 3 for the podcast of Hufflepuff.
Out of how many?
Out of, let's see here. I've had 5 Harry Potter fans, 3 Hufflepuffs, 1 Ravenclaw, and 1 Slytherin.
My brother is also Hufflepuff, and my boyfriend is a Slytherin. So.
Oh my.
Yeah.
What do you identify with as far as the House Hufflepuff?
I think that if I had to guess why I was sorted into Hufflepuff, it would probably be because, I think that I show a lot of qualities of the other houses. But I think that I kind of I just think that I'm a little bit of everything. I know that I know that a lot of times I can be very outgoing and very oh yeah, I'm the best and stuff. But deep down, when things really matter, I try to be a little bit more humble about it. And a lot of the things that I'm maybe boisterous and loud about aren't always the things that are actually the most serious versus I don't know. And then I'm definitely with cosplay, I think you have to be really dedicated. And if I say I'm going to do something, or if I say I'm going to stick with someone, I definitely don't ever falter. So I would say the loyalty aspect definitely as well. But if you had to go on, I know one of the big aspects of a Hufflepuff is patience. And I don't follow that trait at all. I have very little to no patience most of the time. So.
Well, I am happy as a clam that I have yet another Hufflepuff.
I'm guessing that you're also a Hufflepuff.
Oh, most definitely. Okay. Back in my early years of Harry Potter fandom, I more identified as a Ravenclaw, but I have transitioned and am solidly Hufflepuff. Okay. Proudly, in fact.
So you're not they came out, am I allowed to ask you questions?
Of course.
What are your opinions of the J.K. Rowling coming out and saying that they're there's mixed houses?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously it's not portrayed in the books.
Yeah.
So it's hard to go off of that. I've seen the quizzes all over the internet about which 2 houses you would be. I always get different answers for it. It's usually always Hufflepuff is one of them, and then it's varied between the other three as what it comes up with. So I can never get a firm grasp of like which two houses I would be. But I can see that, and I mean I can see it in the relationships that she has set up with the characters outside of, say, Ron and Hermione,
Yeah.
where Neville, who is a Gryffindor, ends up marrying Hannah Abbott, who was a Hufflepuff.
Yeah. Well, so I like when it came out, I was actually pretty upset because I was just like, no, you like don't like I feel like she betrayed herself by making that statement because like Harry had the same problem at his sorting and he didn't get to choose too. Like if that was the case, why didn't he become a
Slitherdor?
Slitherdor or whatever? Like why wouldn't he have done both then? I was just like, and I don't know, like I would definitely know that I'd probably be like Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, but I'm like, but when you read about it, it's like I'm so much more a Hufflepuff, even though people would like guess I would be a Ravenclaw. Like,
right.
I don't know. It just really annoyed me when she came out with that, but I guess it makes the people who can't be decisive happy.
Right.
I don't know.
The one thing that she came out with that I always found interesting was, and I discussed this on a previous podcast, the decision that, or the realization that she made after the fact that Ron and Hermione should not have been together. And if she had paired anyone with Hermione, she would have paired Harry with Hermione. That always intrigued me because I know there's a lot of people that are very much Ron and Hermione shippers, but there used to be a very rabid part of the fandom that was very much Harry Hermione.
I definitely am okay with the way that she wrote the book. Like I don't think even though sometimes I might not agree with book, usually with relationships, I'm actually pretty happy with the way they turn out. Like I don't know, I guess I just usually get my way when I'm reading books, so that one really doesn't bother me. Like Twilight, I definitely like after the movies. I mean, yeah, Team Jacob, but I mean, I was really happy that Bella ended up with Edward in the books, and then like the Hunger Games, I was definitely a Peeta fan, and I hope that I'm not like spoiling any of these for anyone.
They've had plenty of time by now.
I just like, so I don't like, and then like I don't really think that there was any part of the books that led on that Hermione would have ended up with Harry.
Right.
So it really never even struck me as something that would have happened. Like, and yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with Hermione and Ron.
Me neither. In the grand scheme of things, it all worked out how it was supposed to work out at the time that she was writing it. So
well, I also like one of my big pet peeves right now with a lot of like books and TV shows and everything is actually like love triangles. Like it's overdone and I'm totally just kind of over it right now. And so trying to like twist a classic, like just straight up love between Ron and Hermione to be like, say, oh, but it was a love triangle and Harry should have been with, like, no, just leave it alone. Like, it's okay. Not everything has to be complicated and a love triangle. And like, believe it or not, like sometimes the real world, like there is just like one other person. Like that's how it should be. So we shouldn't be upset when there's one good relationship.
No, there must be drama.
I mean, I'm all about drama, but I don't know. I just think that love triangles are kind of starting to feel like high school to me. So
now, when I introduced you to the podcast, I called you, I believe, I can't remember my exact words, but one of the best Cinderellas I've ever seen.
Which that means so much to me, so thank you.
And I know that you are really big into Disney. Is there a particular movie that you have like as your favorite?
Okay, so with Disney, I like to break it into groups because I don't like to only say I have one favorite.
Understandable.
It's even hard for me to choose like within those. So like typically I try to stick with like two groups unless you're like counting Pixar, which I guess technically you would, but like I like the classic animated Disney, like that's like I love Pixar too, but the classic animated Disney, that's like my favorite. I grew up wanting to be like an animator and a character developer and stuff. And so like that, like sitting in front of the TV all day, that was like fine for me because I got to watch the things that I loved. So I like to, anyways, off topic. I like to break it into like not princess movies and princess movies.
Okay.
Because to compare the princess, like to compare like Sleeping Beauty to The Jungle Book, that's like just really not fair. But my favorite princess movie, almost say hands down, is The Little Mermaid. I really loved. I think that's attributed to like the fact that I like loved swimming as a child, and I just like really wanted to be a mermaid. I mean, who doesn't? And I know I really, really appreciate you saying that you think I'm the best Cinderella you've ever seen. Like that means so much to me. And I actually cosplayed her because a lot of people told me that they thought that I resembled her more than most of the princesses. But like growing up, like if I had to choose one that I thought that I like connected with and maybe had a lot of the same like facial features, because I used to like study how Disney princesses were created and stuff. And if I had created myself as a Disney princess, I think that the character would look more like Ariel.
Okay.
And then like her story and the music and everything is just fantastic. And she has so many dresses. Someday I really hope to be able to cosplay all of them. But not anytime soon, probably. And then not Disney princess movies, like just like The Lion King, The Jungle Book, like all of those movies. I really love Peter Pan, and I can already like hear people cringing when they hear that because I know a lot of people don't like the Disney Peter Pan, which I think is sinful. But I anything Peter Pan related, really, I absolutely love retellings of it. Hook, Finding Neverland, some of the newer movies that have come out with like remakes of Peter Pan, stage plays, the original book. Like I love all of it, and the idea of like never growing up. And I don't know, I can't explain a reason why I love it so much. I think it's just a good story. And
Well, that's understandable. A good story, and the idea of never growing up, especially if you're watching it and at a young age, can hook you into it. And really, like, I used to want to be a lost boy when I was young.
yeah.
And then I grew up.
That's what. So Josh, my boyfriend, went with me to help me like Tinkerbell. I cosplayed Tinkerbell this weekend, and her wings don't go on. It's not a one-person job, so we got all of that together, and he like walked around with me at the event and stuff. And we just were telling people that he was a lost boy. And then later on in the day, my friend who does my filming and stuff for YouTube came out to get some footage, and so I continued telling people that they were my lost boys. So
well, that's a good way to have someone escort you if they're not doing a similar cosplay or being
like
in
Peter
costume
Pan or something.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea.
Yeah.
So what is it about, or when you are cosplaying for Disney, do you have to identify with the character that you're going to do, or do you do it more for the design of the outfit?
Well, okay, so for Disney, like there's some costumes that I've really like I'll admit to half-assing it on, but Disney is the one like genre that I've definitely like put my foot down and been like, if I'm gonna do like a Disney character, I'm not gonna half-ass it. It's gonna be done right. It's gonna be done the way that I've always envisioned it in my head, and it's gonna be a work of art. I'll use now like why I choose to do a character. I mean, obviously I have to identify with them. Cinderella I can definitely identify with. I mean, the girl has some pretty stellar shoes. Anybody who knows what my closet looks like knows that I definitely have a shoe problem. I also like was really excited when people thought that I should do Cinderella because and I really don't mean to offend anybody by saying this. It's just the way that I see it in my head. I've never seen her as wearing a blue dress. And so I kind of got excited because that meant that I got the chance to like show the way that I saw her dress in my head, which is I've always seen it as a silver dress. And then like like her hair. I know a lot of people do her hair with curls on top, and I've always just seen it as kind of a French twist on top. And she's very delicate and graceful, which I can't attest to, but she definitely has some qualities that I think every girl wishes they could find in themselves. And so it was really magical bringing her to life. And then my first princess was actually Snow White. And the reason that I did that actually was because my mom used to make like hand sew all of my brother and my Halloween costumes. And the very first Disney princess that I ever dressed up as was actually Snow White. So I kind of wanted to do like a silent shout out to her by making that the first princess costume that I ever made for myself as well. So there was a little bit of nostalgia in that one on a personal level. And yeah, just lots of different things go into who I choose to dress up as. Tinkerbell, I definitely have some improvements to make in that, but I'm really happy with the way the wings came out. And like another thing that I definitely try to do when bringing Disney characters to life is that I work with a lot of really great photographers, and I do have fun modeling. I do a lot of just plain photo shoots for fun, but I really, really love cosplay photography because not for the modeling aspect, but for the chance to tell a story through a photo. I'm really excited for some Tinkerbell photo shoots that I have planned out. We're gonna try and bring a couple of the scenes with her in the original movie kind of like to life, and I just like think it's absolutely like making my dreams come true to capture the essence of a character on film, even if it is just a still photo. And so like those are definitely like, that's probably one of the biggest reasons that I think it's worth all of the hard hours, and then on top of it, getting to see the kids' faces at the end of the day when you make their day because they see their favorite princess or fairy. One smile from a kid makes all the tears, blood, and sweat worth it. So
I can totally see that. Now, when you got into cosplay, was that by accident? Was it on purpose? How did you get into cosplaying?
So a little bit of accident and a little bit on purpose. I had kind of dabbled with the idea. Like I used to, like when cosplay was first getting popular, a lot of the artists would post their photos on DeviantArt, which I've been on. I've like tried to post my art, and it's definitely not my forte. I used to follow them and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I could do this. And I never did until I like was dragged into it a couple years ago. And it's like, if I had done it back then, think of all of the costumes I could have already made. I had started doing some creative photo shoots just for fun with some people that I had met on on Craigslist. And so like I did like kind of a 50s pinup style shoot, and I actually designed a costume for like a ethereal kind of light princessy look, and then we contrasted it with like a dark queen look, and that was kind of my first break into like designing something of my own and making it real. And then I was looking for ideas for creative shoots, and I found a girl who was looking for a Jack Skellington to her Sally, and I thought, hey, I love Jack Skellington, why not? So I designed like a female version of him and showed up for my first convention. And when I saw how many people were actually like doing that and just absolutely loved it and how fun all of the people were, I was like, I got to keep doing this. If you can't tell from the way I've talked about like Harry Potter or Pokemon or Disney, like I have some obsessive tendencies. So like it's definitely an obsession, and I'm not afraid to admit it to anyone. Like they can think I'm weird, but I don't care because I'm perfectly happy being weird, and it's great to like have found something where it's just like I don't really care what the rest of the world thinks because I am happy and I love what I'm doing. And if you want to make fun of me for that, it's probably because you're just sad because you don't have something that you feel as passionately about as I do.
Absolutely. And not only that, but in the day and time that we live in now, a lot of what used to be made fun of or snickered at is now mainstream. I mean, you have Marvel comic movies being some of the best movies put out every year. You have DC having wonderful TV shows and starting to break in with their movies. You have incredible characters, TV shows such as Game of Thrones that are being picked up by mainstream people. I mean, what we used to have to, when we were younger, keep to ourselves, or you'd seek out those particular people are on the internet the way it was back in the day, finding those little fan communities, it has definitely changed for the better.
I so agree with that. Like, there's never been a better time to be weird. And it's kind of awesome because, like, okay, so I absolutely adore like historical fiction shows and movies and books. Like Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite, and I'm like binge watching Downton Abbey right now. But the women in Downton Abbey are kind of on the brink of like, they're realizing they don't have to conform to what's normal. But there's like so much pushback from society, and like even though I love their outfits and I wish that sometimes we still dress that way, like I'm so happy I didn't grow up in that time, because I think it really would have sucked to like just be judged all the time and be expected to live a certain way. And the world we live in today is becoming so much more accepting and loving. And I think as long as we keep pushing for that and supporting each other, that we're going to turn this world into a pretty beautiful place despite all of the negatives that are out there.
Definitely. Now, what's a fandom that you've gotten into recently that you would recommend people maybe check out and take a look at?
Okay, so I have a couple. I have two. They're kind of related. I know I told you about one in the little brief interview that you did with me. It kind of started with another one though. There's a couple out there. There's I'm not answering the question. There's Ever After High. I found it on Netflix, and it's like a mini series, and then I found out that it actually is kind of like Monster High, the dolls. But there's a series of dolls that go with them, and then I know that Ever After High I really love. Someday I'm gonna cosplay several of the characters on that show, because they have these like really elaborate high fashion costumes that give a shout out to like classic fairy tale stories, and I love it. It's like the series is like all of the children of our classic fairy tales are in high school together. And it's really fun and bubbly. But more to that, there's been a couple more that have come out since the success of Monster High and Ever After High. Like, I know that Disney, I believe that there's this called, they've released one, I think they're called the Disney Descendants.
Yes, that is true.
I haven't really gotten into that one. And then I know like My Little Pony also has like the humanized versions of theirs. I'm not sure what those ones are called. But the ones that I just discovered like a month ago, which I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I just discovered it that short of time ago, but because I know it's been out for a while, is the DC Superhero Girls. And this one, like, so they've also got like dolls that go with them and everything. But this one, like, I'm really, really excited about DC Superhero Girls, like, because of what I think it's going to do for like girls getting into superheroes. Because I just like a lot of the cartoons that are out there for DC and Marvel, they don't often give female superheroines their own titles, even in movies, but more so like focusing on children. I mean, I used to watch Batman, and I used to watch Superman and Spider-Man, and I loved all of them, but there definitely wasn't a Supergirl show, and there wasn't like, they were just definitely lacking in female appeal, even in the younger ages. So even though this is just a mini series, it's about time that they're getting their own like title. I'm kind of hoping that if this is as successful as I can see it being, because I know that they definitely had a title at Free Comic Book Day. I was really excited when I saw that. I really hope that maybe it'll branch open, maybe like a full-time series like for Saturday morning cartoons to be up there alongside like Spider-Man and Batman and Superman, because I would love to see. I really think that Spider Gwen needs her own show. I think
Spider Gwen definitely needs her own show.
So I'm like, I really hope this does well, because if it does, then it might open some doors for some other title characters on like more than just a mini series, and that would be awesome.
What's interesting to me as of late has been the popularity increasing on certain characters. On the DC side, how both Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn have become super popular, and it's not just from the Suicide Squad movie that's coming out for Harley Quinn, but the relationship that they've built between Harley and Poison Ivy is something that is so dynamic that I think that's drawn just so many people. And then on the Marvel side, Spider Gwen has to be one of the characters that I don't know if Marvel was expecting it when they created Spider Gwen, but her popularity is off the charts.
I I love Spider Gwen. I will admit I'm a growing comic book enthusiast, so I'm not the best at keeping up with it right now. So I've read most of her story, but there's definitely some patches here and there. But I definitely enjoy cosplaying her. I think that she really fits my personality. She's a little lighthearted, but she's also kind of like, she speaks to my earlier, like my I say my earlier years, it wasn't terribly long ago, but like my high school self, like was this kind of like very emo child trapped inside of like a normal person. And so like I think that she speaks to a lot of teenage girls in her personality and attitude. And I think that's kind of cool. Yeah, I like, there's some really awesome Spider Gwen cosplays out there. The one thing that I wish is that, and you're not going to get away from this on the internet, so like I'm not like upset about it. Like I know it's going to happen, but I kind of wish that, I think that the amount of sexuality that she has been portrayed through like fan art and even cosplay to an extent, it's kind of taken away from her actual character a little bit. It doesn't bother me because like I know how I see the character and how I've read the character to be portrayed as, but I would hate for someone to be turned off of it because of the way that the internet has changed the way she could be viewed to someone who's new to it.
Right. So, I can definitely see that.
I would really love to see her get maybe her own show. I think that it has potential, since she is kind of a struggling, angsty teenager, and her costume is fun and bright colors, and I like it. So
yeah, and it's totally different than what we're used to with anyone coming out of the Spider-Man universe with the traditional red or black outfit.
Yeah, I really love that aspect of it.
And the hood is cool.
The hood is pretty sweet. Like I like the costume that I own. The hood is nice because like, I mean, it's exactly what it's meant to do. Like I can put it up and I can kind of, I mean, I don't hide a lot, but I can hide a little bit from the world.
Now, for people that are listening and they maybe want to check out some of your work, where can they go to find you?
Okay, so I try my best to be on a lot of the main forms of social media. My biggest two are Instagram and Facebook. And you can find me on those two, as well as Twitter as Sadie by Design, and that would be what you would search to find me. And then I also, this year, to push myself outside of my comfort zone, I started a YouTube channel, and that one will be, I think if you searched Sadie by Design, you'd probably find a couple of my videos, but it's under my full name, which is Sadie Geerligs is the actual channel. So if you've enjoyed listening to my awkwardness, I would love it if your followers would go give me a subscribe and check out some of my videos. I do a lot of con vlogs and trying to do some more cosplay tutorials and just chatting in general and vlogging. It's been a lot of fun. It's really broken me out of a shell that I liked to hide in beforehand. And then I also do blogs. I have a website, which is just www.sadiebydesign.com. And then I don't know, I think I have a Tumblr, I have a Pinterest. Those are also Sadie by Design, but those are probably my less serious social media accounts. So
okay,
yeah.
And I'll make sure that when this podcast is up, your links will be very clear and easy to find, both on the website and on our Facebook page, which is Tales from the Fandom. And I really just want to say thank you, Sadie, for taking the time out of your schedule and coming on.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so fun. Hopefully I didn't talk your ears off too much.
I can't imagine anyone would complain about people talking about what they love.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.